Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's fantasy football strategy show, every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm here as always. By the way, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner with Kasey, Vlad to the Bone, Shienvold, and Ross the Boss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk football, waiver wire, everything going on in football, week 14 with you, cowboy. Before we get started, guys, I have rage going on. Rage!
Oh my God, rage beyond normal.
You have rage. I have rage because of this. Adam Schechter, who we all know, reported that Baker Mayfield could be starting quarterback today for the Rams. You can't be serious. He's been in camp for 3 days, Kasey Shienvold, 3 days. And he has to learn to play
what they think of their backup quarterback.
Oh, they said he might start Kasey Shienvold. He might start the game tonight. And really that I don't understand them. First of all, the Rams aren't going anywhere. We all know that. Is Baker the solution for the future? Is that what they're looking at? Stafford could retire at the end of the year. I mean, he's having major back problems. Oh, God knows. The Rams need a quarterback. Is that what they're looking at? Is Baker Mayfield 3 days to learn the playbook? McCaffrey had 6 days to learn the playbook in San Francisco, and he had 6 reps.
Yeah, but you know what?
Quarterback.
But listen, I think you're right. I think the Rams said, listen, he's a former #1 pick. Why don't we take a look at him? You know, it costs us $1.2 million for the Rams. That's throwaway money, which is crazy for the rest of society. But they said, hey, let's take a look at him for a while. Now, why they need to start him on Thursday, I don't know. I mean, we know Thursday Night Football has been horrible anyway. It's been so bad. Can it get much worse? I shouldn't have asked that because we know that it can.
Well, I mean, ask Al Michaels if it gets worse. It's getting worse. And the Raiders are actually playing pretty good football. They're the only team that uses the pass game to set up the run game. I mean,
listen.
Josh Jacobs is a beast, Kasey Shienvold, the beast.
He is. I mean,
wow, Ross, you are fired up today.
You are fired up.
I've rage, Kasey. I've rage.
So listen, Ross, on our last Thursday show, we did talk about, is Josh Jacobs the MVP of fantasy football this year? He certainly is in the discussion. By the way, we want to say hello to Just Bob. He says, hello, gentlemen. Hello, Ross. His usual signing on. We appreciate you, Just Bob, for multiple reasons, including that.
For so many reasons.
So is Josh Jacobs, would he be the guy who strikes you as like, yeah, he's the MVP that you didn't see coming? Or would you nominate somebody else?
Well, I mean, I can talk right now. I mean, beginning of the season, everybody was down on Josh Jacobs. They were saying like he was going to lose his job to the rookie White, and he didn't, or to Drake. Drake was moved to Baltimore. But I mean, Jacobs is actually for sure the most improved player in fantasy football. I mean, he's having an unbelievable season. MVP's tough. I mean, Case, I love Mahomes, as you know, at quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts is putting up huge numbers. Kasey Shienvold, and now I know you live near Philadelphia. I mean, Jacobs is at least in the top 5, yes.
Well,
yeah, I think Jacobs is in the top 5, but he wouldn't be my MVP.
Yeah, I also don't think he's the most improved. To me, the most improved is Justin Fields. Like, he was, you know, we thought maybe he would go into this year and he might lose his job for some reason if there was anybody worth supplanting him for, but he really has become a staple of fantasy lineups at this point. He's going to be a high draft pick next year for
prediction. Where do you see him in the draft next year?
Well, I mean, it depends on the type of league, but let's say we're talking super flex.
He's a second-round pick.
Yeah, I think, and maybe even an early second-round pick.
Yeah,
which like he was this close to being not even on rosters. You know,
yeah,
that's the crazy thing about football.
To me, the MVP is Justin Jefferson. Minnesota's 10-2. Who would have predicted that 2 months ago, 3 months ago? And they're 10-2 with an aging Adam Thielen, a better than average Kirk Cousins. Dalvin Cook, who's a good running back, and a defense that's atrocious. And Justin Jefferson is just dominating. Like, to me, he's the most valuable player in the league.
Even that, just that one catch that he had against the Bills, which of course helped them win that game, is just completely insane. And of course, if you're talking dynasty, Ross, we talked a lot of dynasty last week. Dynasty is coming up, and the reason that is that we're getting to that point in the season where a lot of redraft teams are out of it now. You know, the playoffs are coming up. Yeah. So, you know, we've talked a lot of trades on this show. But it's not only about trades. Now it can be about waiver wire stuff. It can be about keeper situations. It can be about dynasty leagues. It can be about positioning yourself in the playoffs. Whatever questions you guys want to ask, please let us know. We're happy to answer them. But, Justin Jefferson has been huge for fantasy teams he's been on. The only thing I'll say is it's always about the cost you had to spend to get them versus what they gave you. And that's where I think Josh Jacobs is really, really paying off, and Justin Fields for that matter. I mean, these are guys that you could get for a lot cheaper that really went very far. Who are some other guys you'd mention? Then we'll get into some big happenings of the week, because we know the NFL is a week-to-week league. Every week you come back and you think, oh my God, now this is going to happen. Just Bob said, hold on, I got to pull this up. He said, I do want to say I was correct about Swift. DeAndre Swift continues to be a topic of discussion here. Just Bob was correct about him. He said that it was going to be a good Swift week. Some of us said, let's see, improve it. I almost popped a gasket. I'm kidding. That didn't happen. But I did think, listen, it's hard for me to trust DeAndre Swift much. I will say I've been right about him in the long run. Just Bob was right about him this week. And what do we think is going to happen this week, Just Bob? Is he going to have another big week or solid week? I would say he had a solid, very good week. Who knows? Guys, other things that happened this week, to me, one of the biggest ones, especially just from an NFL perspective, is Jimmy G going down.
Yeah.
The 49ers were looking like a serious Super Bowl contender. Now what happens?
But you don't think Purdy's the answer? You don't think Purdy's going to be the golden boy and bring San Francisco to the Super Bowl this season?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. The interesting thing about San Francisco is because they're such a good running team and they're not a deep passing team where you have to go through like 3 progressions or 4 progressions before you throw the ball. Like, maybe they were teetering on the second best team in the NFC behind the Eagles. Do they really fall much behind the third best team or fourth best team without Jimmy G? Like, that's what's fascinating about it. Like, I still, other than maybe the Cowboys and the Eagles, the Vikings I don't trust because of their defense. Like, who else would you put up there?
It really is true. I mean, the 49ers
I don't know how much
still
it hurts their odds of getting to the Super Bowl. It might hurt their odds of winning the Super Bowl, but getting to it, I don't know if it hurts their odds that much.
Well, I mean, Jimmy G's a free agent at the end of the season. San Francisco has a lot of decisions to make. Do they keep Jimmy G? Do they pay him the big money? Does Jimmy G go someplace else? I mean, there's a lot of stuff they have to figure out in San Francisco. I mean, in the offseason. And then Jimmy G could be back for the playoffs, I read. Is that a
well,
true
let's get back to that in a second. Just Bob has weighed in on DeAndre Swift. He says again this week he thinks DeAndre Swift would be a good play. I lean even more that way now that I've seen him do it. It really muddies the waters for Jamal Williams rosterers, though. I have
Who's
him
Detroit
in
play? Minnesota? Is that who they played this week?
I don't know. Let's look that up. Case, can you look that up for me? I think that for people who are trying to play DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, it does become a problem. The good news is as long as either one of them is healthy, you can probably play them pretty safely. Now let's get back to the San Francisco situation. Ross, what would you do? Let's say you're the San Francisco Brain Trust. What do you do? You've got Trey Lance, you've got Jimmy G, you got that defense, you got Shanahan, you got C-Mac now. What are you going to do?
That's a great question. If I was San Francisco, I would keep Jimmy G. I would get rid of Trey Lance. They tried starting him, he got hurt. Unfortunately, it's not going to work out. Jimmy G's proven like when he's healthy and he can run the team, they win. And that's something that you want to have. I mean, I know Trey Lance is younger. I get it. I mean, I understand you wasted a draft pick on him. But again, Jimmy G is something that can win now. Trey Lance is not going to win you a Super Bowl next year. Well, he doesn't have experience. Here's the
thing, Ross, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I wouldn't keep Jimmy G, especially if, like, I would watch the next 4 weeks. If San Francisco still continues to win or be in games with Purdy, their 6th or 7th round draft pick at quarterback, why would you spend $30 million a year, $25 million a year on Jimmy G when you don't need him to win? And so I think if I were them, I would beg Cleveland to waive Jacoby Brissett now that Deshaun Watson's back and maybe try to pick him up because look what he was able to do with Cleveland in 10 weeks or 11 weeks with Cleveland. But short of that, I think you ride it out with Purdy. And if you get to even the conference, like if you get into the playoffs and then win a game in the playoffs with Purdy as your quarterback, I think you kind of have your answer, right?
I have a question for you guys. I was thinking about this last night. Phillip Rivers is coaching some high school team down in Mississippi, right? I mean, and then Drew Brees is doing commercials where he's getting struck by lightning, correct? I don't know if you guys heard the story. He was doing a commercial. He was doing a commercial for one of those betting sites outside, and he was actually struck by lightning filming the commercial. Actually, he was hit by lightning. He's okay.
Oh my God.
My uncle was struck by lightning when he was in the Air Force and almost died, but that doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is this: do you go after Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers and see if they can take you to the promised land, or you just go with Purdy?
Oh, wow. Interesting question. Now, hold that thought, Ross, because we got some questions coming in. We're going to get back to yours in a second. But Wembley says, should I start Akers over Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, or Najee? Well, Kenneth Walker's out, right?
Kenneth Walker, they have not made the official announcement yet, but it does not look good.
Yeah, they're
going.
People are saying he's out.
And Pierce is, so you guys know, the Pierce is playing Dallas, and I don't know much of the running thing they're going to use in Houston this week, but we'll see. Keep going.
Well, okay, but Najee, who's Pittsburgh playing this week?
Pittsburgh is playing Kasey. Help me.
Pittsburgh's playing Baltimore.
They're playing Baltimore, whose run defense is not that great, and their best.
True.
And their linebacker.
The Rams are playing the Raiders.
Okay, so Just Bob weighed in on this question. He said, "I would not start any Ram." It's kind of hard to argue with that at this moment. Just Bob says, "If no Walker, play Damian Pierce." I'm probably in agreement about that. I mean, I'm interested in Najee. What, a lot of times it's kind of week to week. Najee has had a weird season. Obviously the Pittsburgh line is pretty in shambles. The rookie quarterback's not helping him so much. He's shown a lot of signs of life, but Pierce is the one that has the clear role.
I'm not disagreeing, but again, they're playing Dallas.
But they're going to
be behind in that game. They're going to be.
That's true, and not only that, game flow.
The game flow. Right. It's not going to be
honestly,
like Pierce.
I'm going to go Harris on that.
I agree with Dr. Dan Ratner. I agree with your pick.
If Walker, Pierce, and Najee are all suiting up for the game, it sounds like the start of a bad joke. I would probably, if I was going to start Akers over anybody, it would be Pierce, just because, the Raiders' defense isn't amazing either, and Akers is at least serviceable there. Pierce going against Dallas, I just see that being ugly.
So this is Wembley's own take on things. Seems like Akers is all they have about the Rams, and then he said Pierce is flex, but I feel like he's got the worst matchup of the year. So I think we're in agreement with you. I think that, Just Bob points out Najee is questionable also, but I think if Najee's playing, you play Najee.
Now Najee's playing. I know he's questionable on the chart, but he'll be healthy on Saturday.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the wrong end of questionable.
There's no news about him not playing. Zero.
Okay, back to DeAndre Swift. I know he comes up a lot here, but Just Bob is pointing out Swift can catch and run.
Okay, no more Swift. I'm tired of Swift. I don't want to hear that guy's name one more time.
And you know what? Swift is not the trigger.
I don't
for
care
Dan. It's now a trigger for Ross.
I know. See, I knew it was going to be
a trigger for me, guys.
I knew it was going to be. Now, Kasey, your video froze there for a little bit. I don't know if it was because of Ross being triggered by DeAndre Swift, but I do enjoy someone else being triggered. Triggered.
I'm sure you do.
Triggered by DeAndre Swift. I've long since dealt him in a deal for Nick Chubb, and I have felt better ever since. Okay, Just Bob says Najee oblique limited today. So oblique injuries definitely can be worrisome. It still sounds like he's going to play. So we'll have to see. The other reason I'm not sure I'd start.
Ironically, obliques scare me more in baseball than they do in football. I think these guys play with pain all the time, and so it. Don't get me wrong.
No, you're absolutely right.
Still getting limited practice in.
The torque in baseball makes the oblique like a different ball of wax. I mean, I wonder like if a cornerback gets an oblique injury, I don't know if they're going to be able to swivel the hips in the way they need to and that sort of thing. So, but a defensive lineman, an offensive lineman, even a running back potentially in football, they just seem to play right through it. It's crazy. But the other reason I can't see starting a Ram is this Thursday night football and even the Baker Mayfield situation. Like, I don't know that Baker Mayfield starting or not really makes that much of a difference to that situation. But
Adam Schefter reported that he's starting.
Is that true?
Yeah, I didn't make it up. But Adam Schefter just threw his name in the lie. No, I see.
You mean you just heard now?
I heard a couple hours ago, Adam Schefter reported that Baker Mayfield's going to be the starting
I
quarterback.
thought you
for the
said he
Rams.
might
I mean,
start.
that's what he
Okay.
said.
All right.
Who
So
knows if he's right? Okay,
Purple
we got a
Cat.
question. Purple Cat. I
Purple
like
Cat
that
says,
name.
"Hi fellas, how are we feeling about Akers today in full PPR? Does he garner a start over Miles Sanders or Pacheco, or are the Rams too risky to start? I definitely would not start him over Miles Sanders. I don't think I would start him over Pacheco either myself.
Miles
Guys-
Sanders is the guy you should start there. I love Miles Sanders. I love the matchup he has this week, and the game flow will definitely be in his favor against. I believe they play the Giants, right, Case?
Yeah.
So
Also, I mean, Miles Sanders has really done it most of the season. Every back is going to have some
Yeah.
bad games. Don't read into too much. Even 2 games in a row of not looking so good. If they've done it all season and they're in the right situation, keep playing them. We say this all the time. Don't get cute. This is the time of year where you play your best guys. And
the game flow favors Sanders a lot in that game.
yeah, but even so, like even if the game flow didn't, I'd still be playing Sanders out of that group. He's the clear guy to play in that group to me.
I hated Sanders last week, and he did nothing last week, so I'm happy I didn't start him. Just telling you that.
Well, okay. But, a lot of people I think did feel like, well, they've got to start him because he's their best guy. And listen, if he had gone off on people's benches, they wouldn't have been happy. So we're also, we're very much at that point where everybody's fighting for playoff spot. Not everybody. Some people have been eliminated. But those who are still alive, there's a lot of people fighting for playoff spots. And I would say, don't get cute. If you need a win and you're looking at Akers, Pacheco, and Sanders is the one with the clear role on the best team. I think
if you want a second one, I think Pacheco is the play, honestly, because they're playing Denver. Has Denver scored more than 9 points this season or more than 12 points this season?
Total.
And the only good thing Denver has is a pass defense, from what I can tell, with Surtain and some of those guys. And so, if they go up by 10 points, Kansas City, which we all think they're going to fairly quickly, this could be the game where Pacheco gets between 16 and 20 carries. And we've seen what he can do when he
not
gets
playing this
16 to
Sunday
20
either, Casey.
So
Cortland Sutton's not playing. Is that what he said?
He's not. Cortland Sutton is not playing.
Okay. I mean, I think it's and Cam Akers. Could Cam Akers get you 2 touchdowns tonight? Yes, it absolutely could happen. But you have to ask yourself, would I be more surprised if he got 2 touchdowns, or would I be more surprised if he got 12 carries for 21 yards? And we'd all be more surprised if he got the 2 touchdowns. Whereas, would you be surprised if Pacheco got 14 carries for 87 yards and maybe a touchdown? No, you wouldn't be surprised. And so I think that would be the metric I would use to make that decision from.
Well, here's the other thing. A lot of times you look at your matchup and you've got to figure out, do I need a big play or do I need a safe floor? And one of the problems is when you're trying to make that decision on Thursday is you usually don't know. It's different when you've gotten a look at some of what your matchup's been like and you're trying to decide between a Sunday night game and a Monday night player, and you need a big upside swing. I don't like to set myself behind on a Thursday gamble. To me, I don't want to do it.
Because then you have to stew on it for 3 days and you scramble trying to make up for a bad call.
But I think Cam's the only play in LA for the Rams this week.
Oh, I agree with that. If you're gonna play, I mean, who else would you? I can't think of who possibly to play. I mean, even if you had
Higbee,
I mean, only because tight end is so bad. But even then, that would not be my choice of play. All right, guys, let's jump back and talk more about some other fantasy headlines. Deshaun Watson came back for his first game back. He did look extremely rusty. None of the 3 of us are surprised. I think many people in this audience are not surprised. But here's the question. What's he going to look like in this second week?
Well, he's going to the Cincinnati, where it's going to be a really bad place for him to play. I mean, I've been to Bengal games. The fans there are really good.
It's the jungle.
The Bengals have lost, I think, 3 in a row to Cleveland. So the Bengals are hungry for a big win.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say the Bengals have lost 3 in a row? Is that actually true?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ask Casey Shienvold. He'll tell you. So I think the Bengals. I think the Bengals and Joe Burrow are going to be very motivated to run the score up. Watson's going to try to throw the ball. He'll be intercepted at least twice. You heard it from me first, Ross the boss. And it's going to take him at least a few games to get in the flow. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think game script is going to dictate a lot different play style from him than it did against Houston, where he could just hand the ball off and throw it maybe 12 to 15 times. I don't know how many pass attempts he had, but the only thing I could see working to his advantage fantasy wise, if we're talking about game wise, I think they're going to look awful. But if he drops back to pass a lot more, it gives him more opportunities to scramble. And we all know how good he is if he gets outside of the pocket and can break their pass rush. And so he might not have a great game throwing the ball, Ross. You might absolutely be right. But I could also see him having 87 yards rushing and a touchdown, which alone would be probably top 15 quarterback performance.
I mean, I think he's going to be down for at least a couple of weeks. Honestly, and this is going to be hilarious, I don't think he's going to show up very well all season. And then
I've said that all along.
Yeah, and then what happens? Because then
they're going to keep him. He's $250 million.
Oh no, I'm not talking about in the NFL what's going to happen. Of course, they're already committed to him. But I think in terms of drafting next year, either some people are going to get him in a steal, or they're going to think they got a steal, and he's going to be a total bust anyway. It's going to be really interesting. All right, Purple Cat.
He won't be drafted that high. He'll be in the top 15 quarterbacks. He won't be in the top 10. I'll tell you that right now.
I would be shocked if he was. All right, Purple Cat says, thank you. Also, D-Hop is one of my wide receivers. I need a flex. Could go Hollywood or Slayton. Thoughts? Is it viable to pair the Cardinals wide receivers? I also think Slayton is very consistent as of late.
So the Cardinals are playing the Patriots this weekend.
Yep.
In Arizona.
Right. Now, is there room enough for two Arizona wide receivers to thrive there? Also, Just Bob is pointing out Hollywood and Diop showed up as questionable today from illness. I don't know what kind of illness it is, but it seems like they'll be fine by the time it comes to that, unless it's COVID. But I would think we would already have heard that. So what do you guys think? Do you play the two Arizona wide receivers?
That's called stacking.
I think if they're healthy, you do. And I'll tell you why. I know he said Slayton has been consistent, and in a lot of ways, Slayton has been. But Slayton's going up against Darius Slay Jr. this week, who's been an absolute shutdown corner for the Eagles almost all year. Now, if they had a second wide receiver, but they don't, Slay might be forced to cover that person. I just think, I struggle given the Eagles pass rush and given the lack of receivers out there. I think Slayton's going to lead the Giants in targets. I just don't think he's going to put up very impressive numbers.
And I also I don't love his chance to score as much, especially if you don't need a huge score. I think you go ahead and play both Arizona wide receivers. You're going to get good points out of that somehow, some way. And so if you need a floor play, that's the way I would go. Ross, what do you think?
I agree with Kasey. It's a great analogy. And I would go Hollywood Brown, even though I don't love it. I would stack the two. I think that game flow will be on Arizona's favor for the passing game. I see them passing the ball a lot against the Patriots because the Patriots could stop the run. Their pass defense isn't that great.
All right. Edward Zhang says, you guys choose 4 full PPR. Zeke, Swift, Ramondre, Godwin, Waddle. Well, Waddle in a full PPR is automatic for me. Swift also, I think, is an automatic play in PPR. Guys, if we're choosing between the other 3, or if you guys have different opinion, let me know. But who else would you put in here?
We just interrupt. Godwin is playing San Francisco this week. And their defense, especially their pass defense, is really good. So obviously I would probably not start Godwin. That'd be the one I would leave out.
Well, one, it depends on if Waddle's healthy. I read something earlier in the week that he was questionable and
he hurt his leg last game. Case he
yeah.
hurt his leg, but he ended up playing anyway.
He's gonna be fine.
I believe he's gonna play. I didn't hear him not playing for Sunday. We'll see.
I mean, if he's not playing, then you've got 4 players. So
yeah,
play them.
If he's playing, I agree with you in eliminating Godwin. I think Zeke isn't going to be a PPR monster. Like, he's never going to catch more than 2 or 3 balls at most, probably, but he's going against Houston. They are going to turn around and hand the ball off to he and Pollard probably a combined 30 to 35 times and control this entire game. I could see Dallas, both running backs, going for 100 yards and a touchdown pretty simply. Ramondre is the most talented back in New England. He's also their pass catching back, I believe.
Yeah.
Swift is a pass catching back, and Waddle is a PPR machine. So
yeah, to me, it's between
no-brainer.
Zeke and Godwin. Godwin has really not impressed me much all year, and playing against San Francisco makes that even worse, I would think. So I probably would leave Godwin on the bench, which I think was what Ross said. Seems like we're all in agreement. Let's see. Titan CW says, pick one for running back, Zonovan Knight, Cam Akers, or James Cook. For me, this is Zonovan Knight. I understand Cook is on the rise. I like him as a play. Cam Akers, I'm immediately out on of these three. I think they're all three have some question marks, but I'm going Zonovan Knight. Let's hear what you guys have to say.
So Zonovan Knight, the coach for the Jets, already said we're riding Zonovan Knight, and I'm a Knight rider too. I have Knight in many of my leagues. I believe in Zonovan Knight. Even though Carter's coming back this week, he's not going to get the ball like Knight is. The Jets love to run the ball. Knight has showed every week he starts, he has big numbers. I'm going to ride the train. I'm part of the Zavon Knight plan. I'm part of it. Cam Akers, I won't start. James Cook, I like him. I like James Cook, but not overnight. But I do like James Cook. I think he'll have some good fantasy numbers in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for me because and what makes it interesting is the Jets are playing the Bills. So you're going to watch your pick go straight down the toilet or you're going to feel awesome about yourself after one game. I'm more mixed on the two because I do like that James Knight. That would be the best.
Just play James Knight or Zonovan Cook
together. Was on the field for almost 50% of the snaps, out-touched Devin Singletary last week. I think if the game is in hand for the Bills, which it should be pretty early, I think you'll see James Cook get a lot more work than Zonovan Knight. And if the game is getting away from the Jets, you'll see Zonovan Knight get less work. And so I might be leaning the other way, but it's not with a lot of confidence, but I would probably
the reason I lean Zonovan Knight over James Cook is James Cook did have an increased role last week, but we don't know. He could come back next week and play like 8 snaps. We just haven't seen the consistency yet. Whereas Zonovan Knight has a very clear role to me. Maybe it's the risk averse part of me. I'm just like, I'm going Knight. Purple Cat says, thank you. Do have a good Thursday. I hope you do too, Purple Cat. Thank you for joining us here. Okay. Titan CW has a follow-up. What about Cam, though no good QB option, no good wide receiver options, and a bad run defense? You don't think he'll do good? I think he could do well, but I just don't want to bet on it for the reasons we've talked about so far.
Look, until they can stop the Raiders from putting 9 people in the box, it doesn't. I mean, they're a bad run defense, but the Rams have notoriously maybe the worst offensive line in football right now. And so you put that together, and it's not that I don't think Cam Akers has the talent, but they have to be able to complete a few passes to at least make the linebackers and the safeties and the defensive backs not look in the backfield the whole time. You could be right, and we'll say that time and time again. Like, there is a chance he gets 2 touchdowns again. No problem.
You're saying I have a chance.
Admitting that, right? So I'm saying yes, you do.
You're telling me there's a chance.
Yes, you do. It's more like 1 in a million. But if you're looking for safety, the floor is so low with Cam Akers that I just couldn't trust putting him in there, especially on a Thursday night with a new quarterback.
Baker Mayfield as your quarterback. You got Cam Akers. Your big wide receivers out for the year. Your other wide receivers out for the year. I mean, you have nothing left in offensive wise for the Lambs. It's going to be an ugly game, and I see Devontae Adams having 2 touchdowns tonight. What do you guys think?
He seems to always have 2 touchdowns. He's been incredible this year. Another big fantasy.
Again, it's game script dependent. I mean, if they get up early with some random stuff, you could see Josh Jacobs go for 300 yards again.
All right, Wembley says, should I pick up Bam? By the way, that is Zonovan Knight's nickname for those who do not know.
Oh, I thought it's Bam Morris. I thought he's an old.
I was going to say that's the last
Bam I remember. Isn't like the jackass guy, Bam, whatever his name.
Don't pick up either of those guys, but
Bam Morris.
Pick up Zonovan Knight. If you're saying you don't like the running back position,
if he's available,
100%.
I don't know why he's available, but you should absolutely pick him up.
Absolutely.
I
you
mean,
pick
listen,
up-
one
you become a
point,
night rider like Casey and I. You pick up Zonovan Knight immediately.
I'm the one who first recommended him on here, remember? But I will say this. If you got to remember, late in the season, you're going to get fantasy players not paying attention. They're out of it. So a guy like Zonovan Knight could be available. Make sure you check your wire all the time, because at this point in the season, some people aren't paying attention. There's going to be some surprising people available. But absolutely, I think, as Just Bob said, he's going to get the touches, so pick him up. Just Bob also weighed in on that other question, the 4 PPR question. Came up with the same answers we did: Swift, Ramondre, Zeke, and Waddle. Okay, Jim896, good to have you on here. Full PPR start 2. Deontay Foreman, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore, Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark. I have ones jumping out at me as the obvious start.
I'm curious, which one is it?
For me, it's DJ Moore.
See, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the other players. There's a lot of question marks on in a lot of ways.
Can you tell me who the
Deontay
starting
Foreman.
quarterback is for North Carolina this week?
What's
For
that?
the Carolina Panthers?
Who's the quarterback for the Panthers this week?
Is it Sam Darnold?
Yeah, isn't it Darnold?
Okay, I'm just making sure you know. Okay,
yes,
keep going.
Okay, well, listen, I think that's actually better than Baker Mayfield for fantasy purposes. But Deontay Foreman, he's a little dinged up. It's not clear how much he's going to play. He probably would be my second play, though, which is amazing.
And remember, Chuba Hubbard was on the field, I think, for like a little more snaps than him last week.
He was. But we've seen, here's the thing, Deontay Foreman has huge upside. We've seen it. He scored 3 touchdowns in a game. If you need a big play, I'd be going for him. DJ Moore, to me, is the safest play of all of those. That's what I'll say for now. Casey, go ahead.
I think I mean, Deontay Foreman hasn't missed a practice this week. I know he was limited in 1 or 2 of them, but I think he's the slam dunk play out of this group, because he's also, they're going into Seattle. So it could be a pretty wide open game in that respect. I would not touch Jerry Jeudy, which I hate to say because he's a phenomenal wide receiver, but Russell Wilson just can't cook, as they like to say. Tyler Boyd is the 3rd, maybe even 4th option sometimes when Chase is healthy in that offense. Chark is sneaky, but I would stack Foreman and Moore would probably be what I would do with Carolina.
And it looks like Just Bob agrees with us. Deontay and DJ and Ross, do you agree?
I don't agree. Tyler Boyd, every 3rd game, he has a huge game. And you know what? It's the every 3rd game rule. So I think Boyd's going to have a good game against Cleveland. I have a feeling that he's going to have a touchdown and maybe 80, 90 yards, because they'll double team Chase and they'll concentrate on Higgins too. And then you got Boyd, who's fabulous. When I saw him play against Atlanta in October, he had 2 touchdowns, 140 yards.
Listen,
so,
I actually was going to say, Ross, if I had to play one of the other ones that I left out, it would be Tyler Boyd.
I like Boyd against Cleveland. And I agree with you guys. I think that Deontay Foreman, I think he'll get 15 to 20 reps. He'll get the ball at least 15, 20 times in that game. He likes to catch the ball too in the passing game. So I agree with Deontay Foreman, but a receiver I would start as Tyler Boyd.
I do feel that Tyler Boyd is going to score. The Browns, they just leave all receivers wide open. Yeah. So he should be available.
Yep.
Okay. Another question from Wembley. Would you start DJ Moore over Godwin? I would.
Yes.
To me, that's not even much of a problem. If you
I'm
look
worried
at
about Godwin,
lines,
I'm worried about, I'm worried about this week too is Mike Evans. I mean, he's done nothing the past few weeks. He's been very quiet.
Well, and didn't Tom Brady come out this week and say they need to run the ball more or something?
Well, he said last week, he said that he doesn't want to, they wasn't want to rely on the passing game anymore, and Mike Evans has been 1,000 receiving yard receiver ever since he started as a rookie. And now he's not getting the targets. It's just, I know he's frustrated now with Brady. I know it's, he's not getting the ball. He's not the focus anymore. I get it.
All right, we're going to get back to Brady in a second, but Jim896 has another question. Give the start to Trevor Lawrence or Jared Goff?
I would lead Jared Goff.
Goff at home.
He's going against Tennessee, I believe, right?
No, Goff is going against Minnesota.
Jacksonville's going going Tennessee. I'm sorry, I got those confused.
No worries. And Trevor's in Nashville this weekend.
You answer.
Yeah. So Trevor's in Nashville, but Goff at home is a whole different. When he's at home playing in the dome, he's a whole different quarterback when he's away. It's like night and day. So you start Goff at home every time.
And I got to say, you know, if you're a Lions fan, you actually have something to watch this year. Like they are, I mean, Amon-Ra.
They have, yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. DJ Chark is a decent pass catcher. They got Jamison Williams back last week. I'm sure he'll be more integrated this week. You know, you got Swift, who's a pass catching back. Like they have a fairly complete and a good offensive line. Like they have a pretty complete offense. And they're going against Minnesota, so it could end up being a shootout. You know, Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if he's practiced this week, to be honest. I know he was banged up. And don't get me wrong, Tennessee is maybe the worst pass defense in the league and is giving up more points to wide receivers than any other defense in the league. But I like that Detroit offense at home better than I like the Jacksonville offense right now.
Totally. All right. And Jim896 says, I'm currently starting Lawrence, Judy, and Foreman in those questions we were talking about. So, Jim, I do want to say this. Never let any fantasy analyst talk you out of your gut instinct. Really, you don't want to do it because listen, we all have our ideas about it. Hopefully we're giving good advice and recommendations, but if you've got a strong gut instinct, go with what you think is going to happen.
Jim, start Goff. Start.
That being said, start Goff, Moore, and Foreman. I'm just kidding. Right. Actually, I'm not kidding about who I think you should start, but hey, you got to make your decision yourself. And if you got a strong gut instinct or you think we're not making sense, go ahead.
Ross likes to make fun of every Tuesday. Come on, join us Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. So Ross makes fun of the picks I made the week before that were wrong. We never focus on anything I got right. But Ross likes to just go right at me for all the ones I got wrong.
That's not true.
It's my favorite part of the week.
I compliment you all the time, but keep going.
Now, Just Bob says Lawrence hasn't practiced all week.
He hurt himself in the last game. We talked about it, Kasey. Remember, he hurt his ankle or knee. I can't remember, but he ended up finishing the game, and but he'll be playing. He'll be in the game. Don't worry, guys.
All right, Just Bob says DJ Moore is the better play, and then Jim896 says him and Darnold great potential, could be interesting. Just Bob says yes, and then we made Jim laugh. I'm glad we made you laugh, Jim, and hopefully we haven't steered you wrong. And if we steered you at all, we'll find out. Now, we were in the middle of talking about Tom Brady, and Kasey said pretty much right away when we saw him struggling that he thinks he's done. Do you agree, Ross?
I think he should have retired. I think he should have took his wife's advice and retired beginning of the season, actually, or maybe the beginning, like when training camp started. But I think Father Time always wins. He's 45 years old. I wish. I mean,
I thought you were saying Father Time was 45 years old.
But again, there's some really great quarterbacks coming out of college football this year, like really good ones, and you'll see them at the Heisman presentation on Saturday. Tampa Bay for sure should pick one of those guys up.
They're not going to have a pick high.
Are they going to? Yeah, are they going to be? Who are the teams that are going to be in position? Hold on, we got a question coming, and then we'll get
Carolina.
Carolina for sure. Okay. Jesus Lopez says, start Zeke or Travis Etienne.
Case.
Close. I would go with that.
That's a really tough one. I probably, if it's not a PPR, I'm probably leaning Zeke just because they're going against Houston. And I'm looking at a game script play there. I think Zeke gets a majority of the goal line sort of work for Dallas.
And he's likely to score.
And he's likely to get you 70 yards and a touchdown. Etienne went on a streak of like 4 straight games with 100 yards and a score at some point this year. But he also has had 2 or 3 games, because I'm an Etienne owner in a league, where he has gotten me very little. He got hurt and was cleared to return to play, but Jacksonville still kept him out for the rest of the game and played. Was that when JaMychal Hasty did so well? So I trust Zeke as much. I don't trust him as a lead back, but I trust him in this game.
Well, some of it also depends on floor or ceiling. If you need a good floor, I would go with Zeke. I think he's almost certain to score. But if you need a big ceiling, I don't love Zeke as the ceiling play. So, for what it's worth, I'd go with Etienne if you want a big.
I agree with you guys. I think Zeke will have at least 1 touchdown. Houston's run defense is horrible. I mean, J.J. Watt doesn't play there anymore. I think Zeke will have at least maybe 1, maybe 2 touchdowns. And I think point-wise, he'll get you more points than Travis. So there you go.
All right. Flores says, pick one: Rachaad White, Jeff Wilson, Bam Knight, or Kenneth Walker. Also, how do we feel about a DeAndre Hopkins start since he got listed on injury report for illness. We saw how that turned out for A.J. Brown. So we got to pick. Let's first pick one of those running backs. Case, we'll start with you.
If Kenneth Walker is healthy, I'm picking him. If he's not, I'm going with Bam Knight. I
agree.
I think they're going to feed him the ball. But if Kenneth Walker is a game time decision, because I think it's in Seattle, so he'll be the late game. I think the 1 o'clock game is the Bills, and are they the 1 o'clock game this week? The Bills and the
I believe so.
Jets?
I'll check.
I think if he's still on the injury report on Sunday and you have to make a choice, I would rather err on the side of Bam Knight than hope that Ken Walker is going to play. If he's not on the injury report, or they can already announce that he's definitely going to play against Carolina, then I'm picking Kenneth Walker.
Totally agree. And by the way, the Jets-Bills game is a 1 o'clock game. So yeah, if you're not sure, I think it always makes sense to go ahead and play the right, the best play that you have. Meanwhile, Kenneth Walker is, if healthy, he's the clear.
We'll know more about Kenneth Walker tomorrow.
The Friday practice.
Yeah. I mean, we'll know more about him next week.
Casey, I always forget, where did Rashad White go to college? I always forget that.
University of Arizona.
No, Arizona State.
Every single time. It's like I've watched this joke so many times.
Yeah, I agree with Casey. Whatever Casey said, 100% agreement. Walker first, Knight if Walker doesn't go.
Okay, so how about this DeAndre Hopkins start since he's listed on the injury report for illness? I think if you're showing illness at this point in the week, I'm not particularly worried.
And I guess it depends who your bench wide receivers are.
Guys, I have a question for you about the illness. I've been seeing this just not in NFL, but like in the NBA. I've been seeing like not playing because of illness. Was that around 10 years ago? Like 10 years ago, did you see like reports people have illness? I never saw that on any
it was pretty rare, at least, to be reported that way.
Yeah.
They might have just been out.
Well,
who knows?
I also think, part of it is just we are so much with the growth of Twitter and those sorts of places. We're aware of things 10 times quicker and 10 times more noticeable.
Yeah.
I just think back then we just heard, oh, they didn't practice. We didn't hear worked on side just riding the bike because he threw up at 2 p.m. and his wife
hear
got
everything
mad
now.
at him at 12.
We hear everything now, and not only that, but do you guys remember this? Sometimes we'd be watching a game where they just wouldn't be playing. We'd be like, where are they? We just never had any information at all.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yes.
Oh, they're in the locker room. But why?
It's more about the lack of information. I remember Bobby Hurley during the NCAA championship game where he had to go to the bench. That was the one time where I remember reporting on some kind of illness. All right, Jim 896 has great points. Lawrence has been consistently good for me. The injury and recent losses are worrying too. I will fire up Goff. I started Goff earlier in the season when he scored 40+ points. We do like Goff.
He does it for you again.
Yep, we hope he does it for you, Jim.
Unless I'm playing him in any of my leagues, then I'm rooting.
You are playing me this week, Casey.
And also,
yes,
are you running Goff
Don't worry, he's all fired up.
Oh, sorry, Jim. I hope you're wrong. Start Lawrence. I hope he does great.
And by the way, if we were wrong about it, it was Casey and Ross who told you. I'm kidding. Kidding. Okay, let's see. YouTube says, pick one: Najee Pierce, Akers, or Jeff Wilson. Najee Pierce, Akers, or Jeff Wilson. I'm going Najee. We've had some discussion about Najee versus Pierce. We the three of us are not high on Akers this week anyway. Ross, what do you think?
Najee's been improving the past few weeks. He's been, ever since he got hurt and he came back, he's been getting the ball more. He's been scoring touchdowns. Najee Harris is one I would start over all those guys. Jeff Wilson is either great or he gets nothing like they did last week. And Akers, like we said, I wouldn't start anybody on the Rams right now. And Pierce scares me because it's the Cowboys. So there you go, Najee Harris.
Listen, for everybody who has Najee on their team, I want you to know that I did something good for you, which is I traded him in a keeper league when he was sucking. And now he's starting to play well. So you're welcome. This is just the way it goes. But I'm happy to help you. Now, Jim 8896 says, I'm 9-4. If I win this week, I get a bye. This is a big part of this particular week. How hard do you fight for that bye? A bye in fantasy football is huge. You automatically win that week.
Big.
So you got to go for it. I want to sit Foreman because full PPR inherently favors receivers, and I'm starting 2 running backs already, Mixon and Jacobs. More
Good
gets the
running
nod.
backs to have this week, though.
What's that?
I said they're great running backs to have this week.
Guys,
Nice
really
try.
quick about Mixon. I read this today. Mixon cleared concussion protocol last week. He cleared it. He could have played, okay? But then the report came out last week he was having vision problems that no one knew until today. That the reason he didn't play is because his vision was messed up and he didn't play. All right. Why did no one heard this information till today? They
That's
decided
very
to come out
strange.
today and tell everybody that he has vision problems from last week. What is going on with the news? I mean, why do we get information a week later? What tell me what the problem is here.
There's so many problems. I don't even know where to begin, but I guess I'll start here. Especially when it comes to concussions, there's a lot of confusion.
He passed the protocol.
But that's the question, isn't it? I mean, there's so many people who passed the protocol, then they came back in and it turns out they shouldn't have been on the field. So my question is, did he pass the protocol or did he pass the protocol or is the protocol what it should be?
Samanji Perline, God bless him. He's a great third down back, right, guys? He's good. I mean, he's a good guy to have. He's not Mixon. Mixon's a guy that carried the Bengals last season. I know everybody thought it was Joe Burrow. It was really Mixon. They're paying this guy $48 million to run the ball. $48 million bucks. That's a lot of money for a running back. Trust me, it's not Dr. Dan Ratner money, but it's pretty good money. So again, what I'm saying is this:
boss money.
To people to have like anything to compare the two and think Perline's going to be the starting running back, there's no question he's not going to be the starting running back. So get that out of your vocabulary right now. Don't even talk about Perline being a starting running back. Mixon is the starting running back for the Bengals.
I think that should be true, but I mean, this vision thing, like,
you think. I know. I'm worried about the vision. I now have to get an eye doctor for Mixon to make sure he can see.
I mean, it would be one thing if it's like he cured he cleared the concussion protocol and then ended up with like some kind of knee pain, but like to clear the concussion protocol, then have blurred vision, that makes me wonder.
It makes me wonder too. I'm just telling you, Jim. Just see what's going on with Mixon and his vision. If he can't see, he can't play. So
let me also say this: you guys know that I do mind body work. Concussions can linger in lots of ways because the players are so worried about it. And at the same time, this is a very serious issue. Concussions are a huge, huge problem. But then there's this other side where lingering concussion syndrome can be something where we're just so not confident that we can, rebound from things. It's an interesting conundrum. All right. Just Bob says, weighing in on this. Oh, he corrected this. It was supposed to be not iTunes. It was actually supposed to be YouTube. Autocorrect, changed to iTunes. Wilson, then Pierce, then Najee, and no Akers. Okay, so just Bob
thinks
says
last week was an aberration for Wilson and that he'll rebound.
And I assume that's because he was playing the 49ers. You know, when you play the 49ers,
let's be honest,
you don't run very well.
Just Bob, based on everything he's told us, is a diehard Dolphins fan, so he might know better than us.
Yeah,
Wilson
had like 2 reps or something. I mean, he had like 2 touches, I think, last week. It wasn't. They didn't use him at all, and I have him in our fantasy.
And the Chargers are not a hard team to run against.
No,
so
that's true. Well, you heard it here first from our Miami Dolphins correspondent, Just Bob. He thinks Wilson's the way to go.
I hope you're right.
Let's jump back for a sec. I wanted to talk about. Sometimes we talk about dynasty in here. The 1-1 pick, who should it be? Because you were talking about all these great quarterbacks coming out, and let's assume a super flex league. Who should be the 1-1? Kasey.
If I had to pick, as much as I hate the Buckeyes, I think C.J. Stroud would be my pick. I know Bryce Young won the Heisman last year and didn't have a bad season this year, but to me, he just looks small. I don't know their measurements there off the top of my head, but when I see C.J. Stroud play, he looks like he stands up really tall. He looks like he's more mobile than Bryce Young. So he would probably be my top pick of those, I guess, 4 quarterbacks. Although I don't know if USC's quarterback is old enough to come out yet. I'm not sure if he's draft eligible.
He can come out. I read that he is going to be a top 4 pick.
But I would probably say C.J. Stroud.
Who's this?
Caleb Williams.
Oh, he's going to come out. All right, interesting.
Supposedly, there's like 4 quarterbacks that are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 in the draft. I mean, I'm just reading projections. It doesn't mean I'm right.
All right. Well, Just Bob agrees.
I think the Heisman Trophy winner is going to be Caleb Williams, and I think I believe he can come out this year and be in the NFL. I think he'll be the first pick for the Carolina.
You don't
Panthers.
think his game against Utah is going to affect his Heisman?
He hurt his leg, and he showed a lot of spirit that he ended up finishing the game with a bad leg. That was unbelievable.
All right, we got a question about who wins the AFC East from Jim 896. Ross, who's going to take it?
I'll take the Miami Dolphins.
And
Wow.
Kasey.
I'll take Buffalo.
I knew you would.
I still think it's going to be Buffalo. It's
I
going to
think
be
Buffalo has not been playing great football. I mean, you guys saw them play against Detroit and they almost lost. You guys saw they've not been like winning games that easy.
I know, but I just think there's a lull here. I think they know the playoffs are coming.
But just Bob, see, I changed his name. So me and just Bob believe the Miami Dolphins are the pride of the East. So we're taking the Miami Dolphins.
I mean, I'd love to see it, although, it's not like we're, if it were against the Patriots, I'm rooting Dolphins all the way.
I mean, let's put it this way. The Bills have a 1-game lead right now with 3 games left, 4 games left?
Yep. 4.
And their point differential is plus 124. Guess who has the worst point differential in the AFC East?
Oh no, Miami
Dolphins. They're plus 10. Even though they're 8-4, they're only plus 10 in differential.
Although you could argue that that's the sign of a gritty team that knows how to win.
Sure.
Very interesting.
When the New England Patriots have a better plus minus than you do.
Listen, Kasey, Bengals play Buffalo coming up. I can't wait. And Bob's going to be on my team. He'll be a big Bengal fan that week.
But is it in Cincinnati?
I'm not quite sure.
Listen, the AFC East, though, you got to say the AFC East is it's impressively fun to watch. I mean, the Jets are 7-5. The Patriots are in last place at 6-6.
The Jets have the second best point differential in the AFC East. I'm just saying.
Remember beginning of the season, guys? They all said the NFC East is the worst division in football. Now
I do remember that.
Now it's the best record in football. Like all the teams are playing well in the NFC East.
The Dolphins have given up 80 points more than the Bills. That's an equivalent of a touchdown a game so far.
That's
Mike
impressive.
Williams is healthy this week. I don't care. Mike Williams isn't starting in any of my leagues.
Is that right? See, I think if Mike Williams is healthy, he's going to start in a lot.
And that helps. And that helps her.
I like Allen. I like.
But see, Keenan Allen being there only helps Mike Williams. Now they've got more weapons.
Faith in Mike Williams. Don't start him if he's in any of your leagues.
Okay, I disagree. Kasey, what do you think?
I'm with Dan on this one. I think he becomes a flex play now. He becomes a flex play.
Guys, I have to leave it. Just so you know, I have a meeting in a couple minutes, so I have to. I love you guys, but I have to.
Okay,
he has to meet with people who agree with him.
I know I'm a psychologist, so I'm gonna give the interpretation. When you tell him to start Mike Williams, he leaves instantly. Well, we'll see how this goes. We'll try it again.
No, I'm saying, he's healthy this week. We're not starting Mike Williams.
All right. Well, I'm going to Ross. If you need to run,
no, I got a couple more minutes. Let's see if we have one more question I can answer. But I mean, this week coming up, there are some pretty good games. I mean, the one game that Kasey and I talked about, Dan, and I want to get your opinion on this, is the Cowboys are 17-point favorites over Houston this week. Would you take the points and on Houston, or do you think Dallas can cover the bet?
I think Dallas can cover the bet. It's a pretty good spread. It's right at the point where I'm like, I don't know.
It'll either be, if I say, and I said this to Ross, if I say I can't take the points because that's just too many. I mean, I can't pick them to cover. The final score is going to be 35-17. So it'll be 18 points. If I say it's the other way and I'm like, I don't think they can do it. It's going to be like,
well, let's try it.
28-12.
I know. And not only that, but it's going to be one of those things where it'll be like a last meaningless touchdown that's going to change it. I mean, it'll be
like that Alabama game where they tried to kick the field goal a few years back and it didn't get there and the guy caught it and returned it for a touchdown.
They will be winning the game by more than 17 points at some point. I do think that. Will it finish that way? I have no idea. I'm gonna bet yes.
Okay, we'll see what happens. I mean, that's the thing that caught my attention the most.
Is it Cooper Rush? Who's the backup quarterback?
Cooper Rush, who does nothing but win when he plays.
He's gonna be starting by the middle of the third quarter. He's gonna be playing by the middle of the
third quarter. So I should have played Dak Prescott this week.
It's like watching every Eagles game this year. They have the Steph Curry effect. By the fourth quarter, Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback, is the quarterback for the Eagles. Like when Steph Curry would get you 38 points and not play the last 10 minutes of the game.
That's true. All right, now, guys, I have a question. I'm again wondering about Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to end up sitting, and are we going to see Jordan Love? And is that something you're excited about?
I would like to see Aaron Rodgers sit and Love get the playing time. Because I think they're to the point now where they need to know what they have, and they're not going to know what they have the way they've been playing him so far.
You know what's
To
interesting?
say I'm excited about the thought of watching a Green Bay game, like that's a stretch. But I'm not excited about watching them with Aaron Rodgers right now, so it doesn't change my excitement level very much.
I'm going to give an opinion that I'm not hearing anywhere, which is Aaron Rodgers should want Jordan Love to start in this game. And I think the reason that he should want him to start is either he's going to be good enough to trade away and get some help for him, or he's going to be good enough to just make it clear what's happening, and then he gets to go somewhere else to compete if he wants to.
Or he's bad enough.
Or bad enough that it solidifies.
And then Aaron Rodgers can say, see, I'm your best chance.
I think he wins either way.
Holes in your guys. So
but
Aaron has a 3-year no trade clause, tight contract, paying him.
Oh no, I'm saying he would get on board with the trade. Yes.
Yeah, but if
I mean the rumor is Aaron might want to go to go to Vegas, or he might be in LA if Stafford can't play. Who knows?
How about Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers for next year, and he gets to go with CMC, Debo, like Ayuk, Kittle. Could you imagine that offense? Then
yes, that'd be, and plus it's that West Coast offense, and it's exactly.
And
what
he's a California guy. He went to Cal.
But I think I agree with you guys. I think Jordan Love looked good in the game that I saw him come in. When he came in, it was like a Monday night game, and he came in and he threw a touchdown pass. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he did look good. I think they should play the kid. He was their first round draft pick. Put him in
if I were part of the Packers brain trust, I think you got to play him. Mag Swagman says, should I trade Joe Mixon, D-Hop, and Tua for C-Mac, Jalen Waddle, and Christian Watson?
I love how you're still trading in week 14.
And I already have Joe Burrow at quarterback. Hey,
I love the trades this week.
There are some leagues still trading.
Mixon, D-Hop, and Tua, okay, for Christian, Waddle, and Watson.
I mean, I like that deal for you if you've got Joe Burrow at quarterback.
Yes, you have Joe Burrow at quarterback. So Tua they both have their bye weeks. So you're not eating a bye week on either of them. D-Hop is the best receiver of the three, but C-Mac, getting CMC as your running back at this point, going into the playoffs.
Yes, I would do the deal. Press accept.
I think I would.
Okay, I have to go, guys.
All
right, Ross, we'll let you sign off. Kasey and I will finish up with a question or two here. Ross, thank you so much for joining us. Now, back to Just Bob. He says Mills is starting for Houston. Houston, my God. Whoever's starting there, it's a disaster. And here's my question. Where is Houston going to be drafting next year in terms of position?
I think they'll be in the top 5, aren't they?
And do you want a quarterback to go there?
They might be the number 1 pick. They're 1-10-1.
I know.
So do I want a quarterback to go there? Yes. Not one I want to own.
Well, that's what I mean.
But if I'm a Houston fan, give me a franchise quarterback. We haven't, we had Deshaun Watson, and he decided to try to touch everything that touched him. And because of that, they lost their franchise quarterback. Like they were for 2 or 3 years with Deshaun Watson, one of the better teams in the NFC South. I think they're the AFC South.
But here's the thing.
So if they go ahead.
You're saying that they lost their franchise quarterback because of what Deshaun Watson did, and that's true. But Houston played a pretty big enabling role from what I can hear.
Well, it sounds like O'Brien trading D-Hop. But the bigger point is, with a good quarterback, they're a viable team. They have been their whole life with a good quarterback.
It's true.
So if you put a CJ Stroud, might next year be rough? Sure, it might be, because they would still need to build more around him. But then if they get another good draft spot the following year and get a left tackle or get a wide receiver, because it feels like year in and year out, there are franchise wide receivers growing on trees in the draft. You like, whether it's Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson this year. Obviously,
this year's class was loaded.
Yeah, you got Drake, you've got Treylon Burks, you've got George Pickens. Last year you had some great ones come out. I mean, Justin Jefferson. These guys just begin like they take 4 games to get up to speed, and then all of a sudden they're just great wide receivers. And you have some good wide receivers coming out next year too. So I would, if in a dynasty league and they take a quarterback 1 and it's one I believe in, it wouldn't stop me from taking that quarterback with 1.1 in a super flex.
All right, I love it. I love talking dynasty. Guys, we are going to be talking more dynasty as the weeks go because we're getting into playoffs. It's becoming more start-sit situations, off-season things with keepers and dynasty and that sort of thing. And then, of course, we are going to be talking some basketball. We'll start baseball prep when it comes around to about February. But football is always going to be a conversation, especially with dynasty and keeper leagues. So stick around, stick with us, ask questions. We love talking with you. It's been a great time talking with you. And Case, thanks for joining me here tonight.
Absolutely.
We'll be back here every Thursday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And we look forward to answering all of your questions. Thanks so much, everybody.